What's going on, everybody? You are now tuned into another episode of Everyday Heroes, and we got Real Name Wynton, JB Written, and our special guest Bobby Wright on the show. And before we get into anything, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the show. Hit that subscribe, hit that comment, do all that. Don't forget to follow Everyday Heroes on Facebook, iTunes, Spotify, all that. We're on all streaming platforms, Great Big Media Entertainment. We're all here, we in the mix, all right? So, JB, how was your week? How you been doing, man? It's been a little bit of intermission, you know what I'm saying? So there's been a lot going on. So how was your week? How you been?
Every day as a black man is a struggle, but we out here making it. You feel me?
All right, and what about you, Bobby, right?
And just trying to make it every day, day by day. Like JB said, being a black man can be a struggle every day, but it's a blessing though too. So
Bless
I,
you. Yes,
being,
sir. Yes, sir. You said that right.
All right. And for me, I ain't got no fucking struggles as a black man. You know what I'm saying? I got none.
Living life like it's
No,
golden over there in
man,
Florida, huh?
yeah, I'm the darkest one in the room right now, man. But
Hey, hey, man. Everybody ain't able, man. You got it like that. You got it like that.
all right, so just to lighten the mood a little bit before we get into this, we're just gonna go ahead and get to it. Rip the band-aid off. George Floyd Sr. George Floyd Sr. Rest in peace, rest in heaven. AKA Stephen Jackson's twin. It's only right if we talk about it, just like we talk about other topics. So let's go ahead and get into our thoughts. JB, what you got to say about the situation? So
I,
before you get to the situation, I'm just gonna go ahead and run it by. He got choked by the cops. The cops put a knee to his throat for over 7 minutes. And he was begging to breathe and all that stuff. The cop didn't let go. He ended up. People found out he was a white supremacist with the Klan and all that stuff. And later, come to find out, the footage came out that George Floyd Sr. was not arresting from the beginning or anything. So, go ahead, JB, man. What's your thoughts on this?
all right, I'm gonna be brief, man. I'm trying to be brief as possible. I hate when people say they be brief and they be long. All right, so I'm gonna start off with saying first, before I start, being a police officer is a hard job. Okay, yes, they signed up for it. Okay, and it's a crazy world out there, but somebody got to do it. You know what I mean? And just to get home as a police officer every day is a blessing. All right. So I'm gonna say that just to put it out there. All right. But far as training or something has to change far as their training, morals, weapons, something has to change. I'm asked a simple question. Who's going to police the police? Who's going to protect us from the ones who's protected us? When are we gonna? When is going to come a time where the force takes accountability for their actions? I listened to the news lately, and they be talking about, oh, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. About what these devil murderers have done, these officers. But when is we going to take action, and action is going to be continuously kept? And that's my question.
Mhm.
And it's sad that it's happening, and it keep happening to black people, which brings me to my last question. Okay, if we really care, if we really really care, what I mean, how long is this protest is going to be? Like, how long are we going to keep fighting as black people? Are we going to give up and just let it die off, like Trayvon Martin, like all the other things have died off? Or are we going to ask for certain laws to change? Me, honestly, I feel like police shouldn't be allowed to carry guns that's pulling over people and carry all these weapons. If it's just a speeding fine, or it's just a little ticket or something like that, if something has to be done where these cops can't have so much authority over their jobs, because obviously some people are abusing it, and it's happening too much often where we have something has to change. um and that's just how I feel. But I'm gonna call these people for what they are. They devils. You know what I'm saying? They white devil policemen, the bitch ass cops. You know,
Mm.
I'm gonna call them for that. You know what? You know, that was a bitch ass move to put somebody. You know, to put somebody in handcuffs and then put your knee on his damn back and stay there for 8 minutes and kill him. I mean, you know, so they devils, man. That's the only thing I can think of. You know, but my question is how long this protest, how long we gonna fight? You know, how long the news channel watching this on CNN, all these news channels, yeah, they saying it's horrible, but when is something gonna change, you know? And I'm not saying my ideal is the best idea, but something has to be done. So that I'm gonna leave that there and let that float around, see what y'all think.
All right, all right. So, Bobby Wright, how do you feel about this? What do you have to say about this?
Um, well, first and foremost, I want to say rest in power to uh, Floyd, as well as all the other black men, women, and children that have unfortunately been murdered in the hands of white supremacy, police brutality, and like you said, these white devils and demonic people. So rest in power to that brother. Um, as far as solutions, honestly, I don't think there's necessarily just one way to go, but
Mm.
I think we can look back in our recent past to see at least some blueprints of what we can do. Like, for example, the Black Panthers, and you look at what they were doing in the late '60s and the early '70s before COINTELPRO came in and you know took care of that. You know, they basically police their communities, like JB was saying, who's going to police the police. Well, my question is, do we as black people at this point, when we've been in this country for a long time, and we've been dealing with this from the slave catchers to the modern day police, which the history of police, it goes back to slave catchers. We've been dealing with this since day one. So is it better for us to trust other communities to come into our communities to police us, or to have our own people trained and educated in things like policing and whatnot? That's my thing. I understand that individually as black people, financially we're kind of messed up for a lot of different reasons, but we're not poor as a group. Like, we spend trillions of dollars every year on bullshit. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So clearly, we can get our resources together, get weapons legally to protect ourselves, things like this, and try to create some programs to hopefully defend and protect ourselves. Because I'm at the point, honestly, I'm not trying to say that every single person that's in that is a cop is a white supremacist or a white supremacist supporter. But personally, I don't really trust the police system. That doesn't mean that I hate all individual police. I have friends that I went to high school with that are police that I know and that I do trust and whatnot. But I don't trust the system. I think something needs to be done about the system. Either the system needs to change, or we need to just create our own system for our communities and just police our own people. So that's pretty much where I'm at this point. Like, I'm kind of done with the whole police system.
So,
I don't think it works for us.
and good points, Bobby. And you're right. It's time to fight back. And at some point, when is enough enough? Have you guys heard of Micah Johnson, who killed 5 policemen and injured several others due to racism and police brutality?
Mm-hmm.
Where are our Bloods and our Crips and stuff that these organizations were originally for these kind of things? Where are these people? There's so many of them out there killing their own people and killing their rivals instead of killing the actual rivals or protecting us from our actual rivals, which is the police force.
Or George
And
Zimmerman, like, he's still walking around in Florida.
he's still walking around. You know what I'm saying? So here's the thing. People talk about this coronavirus, but how do you cure a virus that's been going on for 400 plus years?
The biggest pandemic in this country, and I would say damn near the whole planet, is racism.
100%. You know what I'm saying? And the system is not built for anybody but them. So why change a system that works for them?
Mm.
Why change a system that works for them? And that's all I have to say in regards to that.
I got a few questions off of some things y'all said.
Sure.
You said, Bobby Wright, you said there's only one way to go. What
Oh
is that
no, no.
one way?
Oh no, no, no. I don't think that there's just one way or one solution or one answer. Sorry, I kind of talk fast, but I think that yeah, there's multiple different solutions that we could probably come up with. I don't think there's just a one size fits all.
I
Correct.
think
Press this one button and everything's gonna be
I
white.
agree.
But yeah,
I think there's one way we need to go.
okay,
Okay,
Uh,
what's that?
I think there need to be a bigger penalty for these things.
absolutely.
I think if it was a bigger penalty and it was hitting them more, in the pockets and in life, it would it wouldn't happen as much. I
Yeah.
think this guy need to die. You know what I mean? And I'm saying like the needle was too nice. You know what I mean? I think somebody need to step on the back of his neck, for about 10 minutes and kill him. You know what I mean? And I think, you
An eye for
know,
an eye.
eye for an eye, two for a two. You know what I mean? And I think if that happened, white people they'll hate us, but they wouldn't do it so publicly with especially because I believe in if you hold a position that like a police officer, a judge, and things like that, and you break the law, I think you should be held more accountable than me in the street. You know what I mean? So if you're a police officer and you abuse your power, I think you should, if you steal something, you a police officer, you should get your hand cut off. You know what I mean? And it may sound extreme, but that's the position you apply for. You know what I mean? That's what you put your right hand in the air and say, I protest, I proclaim to do my due diligence and be this person for this country. And you abuse that power. We putting your trust in you and you abuse it. So by you abusing it, and you took the necessary how long is cop training? 6 months? You know what I mean? Really, if you think about it, you took your 6 months and went through your training just to abuse power and kill somebody,
Don't
a harmless person.
don't you think white people? I mean, this is just reality. Don't you think they actually strive and grow up to do these kind of things?
I don't know. I mean,
I
think
mean,
about
I'm
it. Mhm.
do you think that they grow up and they strive to do these kind of things to get into a place of power to abuse it later on in life?
I think the ones that are racially insecure do. Um, I mean,
Okay,
obviously, right here is white, so I don't want to speak for white
okay,
people, but
okay. That you I'm sorry, but you get what I mean. I didn't mean to say white people
I,
like
I understand completely.
that. Yeah.
In fact, to even kind of compliment what you were saying, I forget what the title of the video was, but a few years back, I watched this video and they showed it was like a video. It was about psychology, but they were talking mainly about the psychology of these police officers. How even the ones that consider themselves to be good and not racist on a subconscious level, they found out that a lot of them do have a racial, bias towards us. And when what they did, they had all these different police sit in front of a computer screen, and they would, flash random photos of Americans, like white men and women, black men and women, Asian men and women, so on and so forth, right? And the vast majority of them, every time they would flash a photo of a black man or a black woman, especially a black man, the adrenaline and the fear parts of their brains would go through the roof, and they're just sitting there looking at a photo, and their brains would flare up anytime that they would see a black person. But when it was a white person or a non-black Hispanic or an Asian person or an Arab person, for the most part, that part of their brain, that fight or flight, wouldn't kick in as high. But every time that they would see a black person, that part of their brain would kick in. So there definitely is something going on, like on a subconscious, on a psychological level with people outside of our race.
I,
Mhm.
I could I could definitely agree with that. I could definitely, agree with that, and I could just tell you, I've actually ordered fake glasses to look less intimidating to people. I have. You know what I'm saying? I've ordered fake glasses and I've worn them in public to look less intimidating. I wear them to job interviews. And guess what? Whenever I wear those glasses, I get the job.
And it's sad that we got. Sorry, I was laughing about that,
Oh,
but
you know,
it,
it's
it's
funny.
it's sad that we gotta even do or even think about stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just to be, just to exist. We gotta worry. Like our melanin shouldn't be looked at as a weapon. So
Well,
I
you know,
got I got a few more questions,
uh
y'all.
huh. All
All
right.
right, so well, this is kind of a statement. When you said in the beginning, you said when you was explaining the story, Wynton, you said he wasn't even fighting, like he wasn't even fighting. It turns out he wasn't fighting back. But really, does it even matter if he was fighting back at this
I mean,
point?
at the end of the day, he's dead. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
the whole thing started. I don't know how it really started, but just from looking at the video, he got pulled out of the car. They
yeah.
sat him down, and then they
Hmm.
picked him back up and they walked him somewhere else, and then that's when they got footage of what else is going on. But the whole
Okay.
thing originated. Maybe he said something that the police officer didn't like. I don't know the audio. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
And then we also said like we should also I said too we should start policing ourselves, and I think y'all said maybe we can have something where we help each other. So do you think like when a situation like that happen or somebody get pulled over, maybe somebody riding by should stop and see what's going on? Because
Well,
that's kind of scary to put yourself in that position as a black person. You see
right.
a black person, struggling. You don't want to kind of stop, and then you end up in a shitty situation because you don't even know what's going on. Like
or you might
how
have to
how as
Shouldn't
how
we
as
should
black people we know to stop that what's going on.
we shouldn't have to be put in those situations.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
We shouldn't have to be put in those situations, but unfortunately we are.
Yeah.
Is you know,
Mm-hmm.
and at some point something's got to give, man.
Man, look, and then you also said the Bloods and the Crips, but the Bloods and the Crips ain't what it used to be.
That's what and I did mention that. I said,
Yeah, yeah, but
what they used to, they aren't what they used to be, but they were originally here to
I wish,
protect.
I wish, I wish they was like that, cause them the niggas that's ready to die.
Right.
that's
That's
them the
very
ones
ready
who
to
true.
die
need.
for the wrong reason, but yeah,
Yeah, them the ones that's ready to die. But I do see some Bloods and Crips coming together. You know what I mean? So hopefully they stop fighting each other and we can come together. I think we can hit them in the pockets too. Stop spending our money with these. Buying their clothes and things like that. Maybe that can help as well. What you think, Wynton?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, it's getting better in terms of that. I mean, you got a lot of outlets and things like that that we can go to, and soon to be resources for people to go to to be able to do those kind of things. Because just like Bobby said in the beginning, the black dollar is the most powerful dollar.
Mm,
And if we take that away from them, they have nothing at all.
mm.
You know,
They have guns.
yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. Hey, everybody grip up. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Get your
Yeah.
stuff going.
legally,
Yeah. Legally, and if you can't get it legally, get it anyway. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
well,
At
I mean,
least Florida, stand your ground.
I feel when it comes to life or death, I mean, hey, these laws are made up at the end of the day. Our lives are not that's not made up. Our lives are real. Laws are made up. I get that laws are here for a reason, whether it's good or bad, but yeah. Um, Oh, so some real quick too. I wanted to say just to kind of jump back uh, about what JB said about how the main police officer, the one that murdered him, needs to die. For anybody hearing this, watching this podcast, listening to this podcast right now, who has an issue with what JB said, y'all better not celebrate the Fourth of July because that whole holiday is about Americans,
Mm,
uh, killing white British people, and y'all
mm,
celebrate that every year.
mm-hmm,
What
mm-hmm,
is that? When this country wouldn't have been independent from England if it wasn't for what? That war.
mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. We sell, or well, I personally, I kind of stopped celebrating the Fourth of July, but as we, as in this country celebrates Fourth of July every year as it's supposed to be this great holiday, right? That people are celebrating violence. I'm not saying that's
Mm-hmm.
a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying that's what it is. You if you celebrate the Fourth of July, you are celebrating people who killed other people for their freedom, for their independence. They were defending themselves at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So If anybody has an issue with JB, Wynton, or me saying that black men, women, and children should legally or otherwise protect themselves against people that are murdering us, if you got an issue with that, you better not be celebrating the 4th of July or none of that. I just want to say that real quick. I know how people
I
think.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. But I'm gonna tell y'all the truth, man. My number one main concern is my kids. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there, y'all got kids, and that's the number one main concern. It's like if we stop fighting now, this is my last comment about it too. This is my last we don't if we like as black people, I'm scared of my kids driving, walking, running down the street and being killed by these white devils. And we can't help, what these white devils teach their kids, like as you've seen in the Ahmaud Arbery case, because his father and son killing Ahmaud Arbery. So as you've seen, these bitch ass police people, these thugs, who is calling for what they are, out here killing
these
people.
gangsters.
These gangsters, what they call us on national TV, and they had no shame. You know what I'm saying? They killing us. So that's why I say the fight must go on for my kids. I don't want my kids to go through the same struggles that what I'm going through. You know what I'm
Fact.
saying? As now. I don't want my daughter to grow up and be like trying to fight and seeing this shit. You know what I'm saying? So the fight must go on. And if you really care, and if you're black, I don't care if you're black, blue, white, Chinese, you know what I mean? But we gotta fight against these devils, man. Gotta
That's,
fight
that's
against
a
these devils. That's my
that's a
last
fact.
comment.
That's a fact, man. All right. Well, hey, good segment, you guys. Glad to have you on the show, Bobby.
Thanks.
Is there any last comments you got or anything before we head out?
Um, these racist police officers are terrorists,
Mm-hmm.
and I check terrorism is supposed to be frowned upon in this country. They are violating
Yep,
our human rights. So at the very least, they need to be locked up. At the very least. So
that's a fact. That's a fact. All right. Anywhere they could follow you, anything, any social media?
um, see, I don't really. Oh, actually, you know what? Can I plug my older brother has a website that he runs for
Sure.
movies. Yeah.
Hell no. You can't plug your brother. He ain't on this show. No, I'm just playing.
Got support your black business.
I'm
Yes,
just
you gotta
playing, man.
support it.
I'm just
No, I'm just joking. But no, it's bcactionmr.com. B as in boy, C as in cat, action, M as in movie, R as in review. If you like, comic book movies like Marvel movies or just any kind of action movies, as well as like independent kind of like short films and stuff like that, you want to kind of stay up to date on those kinds of movies or whatever, check it out. Once again, bcactionmr.com. Check that out. Support that. He's got a Twitter, same name, everything like that. So
All right, sounds good. And I'll go ahead and add that in the description and everything, so you guys can go ahead and click on it and have good accessibility to it. So, from Real Name Wynton, JB Written, and Bobby Wright, this is Everyday Heroes signing out.